So Marvel Studios wanted Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, to appear in the MCU and to be an ally of Kang the Conqueror. That's right, Marvel Studios wanted Kang and Spider-Man 2099 to sort of team up in the MCU for the multiverse saga. But leave it up to Sony to ruin something that might have been spectacular. Sony said no. But there is some good news still. According to a recent report, it's still very likely that Miguel O'Hara will appear in the MCU at some point in time during the multiverse saga, with the most obvious project, of course, being Avengers Secret Wars. And apparently there is a great possibility that this is going to happen in the MCU. And we'll dive into this, but right away I'll ask you, do you think it should be the same one, the same Miguel O'Hara from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse series? Should it be the exact same one from the animated Spider-Verse coming over into live action in the MCU? And to go even further, should it be Oscar Isaac playing Spider-Man 2099? I think yes. I think it would be really cool to see Spider-Man 2099 played by Oscar Isaac interacting with Moon Knight played by Oscar Isaac. I think this is one thing that is really only possible because of the multiverse saga right now. So it might be kind of a once in a long time, maybe a lifetime possibility to have this happen. We know there are going to be variants of the same characters. For example, we know Robert Downey Jr. is most likely going to return as Iron Man, and then we'll see another variant of Iron Man played by a different actor. But the reverse of that might be pretty rare, using the same actor to play two different characters. We know, or at least we hope, we're going to get that with Chris Evans, him playing Captain America and the Human Torch. And maybe we can get it with Oscar Isaac playing Miguel O'Hara and Moon Knight. But let us know what you would want. So this report is coming from the insider Cryptic HD Quality, who has an amazing track record. And they typically don't post a lot of scoops, and they really only post when they know something to be true. So there's a lot of merit to this. Well, yesterday they posted this. Miguel's knowledge and experience with the multiverse, Spider-Verse, would have seen a Kang variant forming an alliance with him. Power for Kang, stability for Miguel. Sometime back, I heard that Marvel wanted this alliance, but Sony thought Miguel was a huge ask. Though this is most likely not happening again, you know why. I heard Miguel O'Hara is still on the table, and that there's a great possibility he could make a live-action debut in the near future with a new team. So let's address the first part and kind of the elephant in the room at this point. Marvel wanted him with Kang, and the story actually makes sense, especially if it is the same Miguel O'Hara from the Into the Spider-Verse movies. Miguel really is seeking stability for the multiverse, and Kang could definitely give him that. And Miguel is really powerful, and he controls a lot, and he could offer that to Kang, and the two of them combined would be a pretty deadly team. But Sony said no, and then to top it all off, the insider stated that Miguel O'Hara is still on the table for Marvel Studios to use apparently. However, not for the same reason they wanted to use him before. That's why they state, though this is most likely not happening again, you know why. And this part really has to do with Jonathan Majors and Marvel Studios kind of taking a step back from Kang at the moment. So it seems like at one point in time, Sony just simply said, no, you can't use Miguel O'Hara, but Marvel Studios and them kept talking, and now he's back on the table. But the story they wanted is not on the table, because it sounds like since they had that discussion about Miguel O'Hara teaming up with Kang, the stuff with Jonathan Majors happened, and now they've moved away from that. So the question is now, what would the story be? Well, I think the best scenario would be if this is indeed the same Miguel O'Hara that we have seen in the Into the Spider-Verse movies, especially if you consider what the next Spider-Verse movie is going to be, Beyond the Spider-Verse. And a lot of people have thought and theorized for a pretty long time now that Beyond the Spider-Verse is actually going to mean live action, that we are going to get a crossover with the MCU. Hopefully not the Spider-Verse that Sony was setting up, if that really even exists anymore. But we did see a live action Prowler in Across the Spider-Verse, and that was played by Donald Glover, who played Prowler, well, almost played Prowler. He played Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming. So there is a very slight connection to the MCU. Plus, not to mention in Across the Spider-Verse, we did see that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man are connected to the Into the Spider-Verse movies as well. Plus, they did also mention in their own way Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So it's clearly all connected here. So moving forward, we are going to assume that the Miguel O'Hara that could appear is the same one from the Into the Spider-Verse animated movies. Now, since they said he's not going to team up with Kang anymore, that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't want stability for the multiverse, because that is what he wants. And unfortunately, he can kind of come off as a villain because of the things that he does to try and make sure that the multiverse can be stable, like him going up against Miles Morales. So the question is, will he be somewhat of a villain in the MCU, or have they stepped away from that concept completely? Cryptic HD Quality does say that it's a great possibility he could make a live action debut in the near future with a new team. And this is pretty interesting because there are actually a lot of different options that they could play out in the MCU. For example, there could be a Spider-Man team. We know that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is coming back. We've heard that Andrew Garfield's is coming back as well. There are reports that a Miles Morales is going to be introduced in Spider-Man 4 live action. Sony has also confirmed that a live action Spider-Gwen is coming as well, and we hope she's going to be in the MCU. And if she comes before Secret Wars, she could be a part of that team as well. If Miguel can really track down all of these different variants of Spider-Man, then it wouldn't be hard to assume that he puts together a team to try and help the multiverse from being destroyed. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that he could be a part of an Illuminati team, specifically a multiverse Illuminati team. We are assuming that some sort of team like this is going to exist. Even if they don't call it the Illuminati, it will be somewhat of a multiverse Avengers team. A team consisting of very powerful and smart characters from a bunch of different universes. And again, since Miguel can multiverse travel, he's a perfect candidate to be on this multiverse Illuminati team. And he seemingly does have great knowledge about the multiverse, so he would be a valued member of whatever team is formed. However, you could definitely see how he would clash heads with some other members, especially if you're going to have Doctor Strange, an Iron Man variant, a Professor Xavier variant. Like, you can just imagine Miguel O'Hara talking to Tony Stark, or someone like Deadpool. Miguel O'Hara definitely wouldn't really do too well in that conversation. He'd get pretty upset pretty quickly, based off of what we've seen from across the Spider-Verse, that is. Now, ultimately, I do think Miguel O'Hara is going to be a good guy in Avengers Secret Wars if he debuts in the film. It is possible that he could enter the MCU sooner than that. And Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse should come out before Avengers Secret Wars. I say should because they've already pushed the release date back. But still, it should come out before Secret Wars since it was supposed to come out in 2024. So hopefully next year in 2025. So that means Beyond the Spider-Verse could take them beyond the Spider-Verse into live action. And that is where we could see Miguel O'Hara go into the MCU, perhaps maybe even in a post-credit scene. And since the Spider-Verse films are the best thing to come from Sony in a really long time, I think fans would actually be really stoked to see this, because we've really wanted these characters, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, Miguel O'Hara. We've wanted them in the MCU, and hopefully we get them. Now, before wrapping this up, it is interesting to think about what could have been Miguel O'Hara with Kang the Conqueror, and you have to wonder, is it because of the Jonathan Majors situation that they're not doing this plot point anymore, or is it simply because Marvel really is moving away from Kang as a main antagonist for a little bit? That's one of the biggest questions that us Marvel fans have right now. What exactly is Marvel Studios going to do? We have heard many different insiders state that Kang is not gone, he is going to be returning, but they are putting him on the sidelines for a little bit. But overall, I do think that ultimately Miguel would go up against Kang, because Kang wants to control everything for himself. Even if they were to team up in the beginning, I think ultimately Miguel O'Hara would go on to realize, oh, this guy doesn't want to simply control the multiverse so it doesn't get destroyed. He wants to rule the entire thing. He wants to do whatever he pleases with it. He wants to conquer it. And ultimately, Miguel isn't a bad guy. He does want stability for the multiverse so all of the universes can live. So all of the people in the entire multiverse can live. So ultimately, I think he would have gone up against Kang anyways, even if they started off as allies. However, I do think that would have been a crazy cool story to see. But what could have been? The cool news is Miguel O'Hara could appear in the MCU, and according to this report, there's a great possibility that that could happen. So let us know how you would like to see that happen, and how do you envision they tie in his story with the multiverse saga in the MCU? Let us know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the MCU, and of course the Spider-Verse, both animated and live action. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.